Hello everybody and welcome to the Dead Pixel Podcast, Episode 1. The topic for discussion this week is Gaza. What else could it be? I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Brown, and each week I'm joined by co-hosts. This week we have Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink and Mr. White. Straight into the round table this week. Like I said, the topic is Gaza. Hello guys, how's everybody doing? How are you doing, Mr. Orange?
Yeah, I'm not too bad.
Mr. Pink, how are you feeling?
We're doing all right. Glad to be here.
And Mr. White, last but not least.
Hi everyone, glad to be here.
For people who want to know who we are, we have got a Facebook and Twitter. Please also see our introductory episode, but we're going to go straight into the topic. Okay guys, I spoke to a friend the other day and he said, what's your first topic? I said, it's Gaza. He said, Gaza, what else is there to say about Gaza? And in a way, I appreciate what he's saying, but as a political podcast, I suppose we will always be sort of regurgitating things that have already been said, and it's up to us to collect our knowledge and come up with opinions of our own, bounce off each other, and hopefully come to something fairly interesting for the audience. So, guys, Gaza, Mr. Pink.
Do you want to know my personal opinion on this, or?
Well, I'll tell you what. let's take it from. Right, we're going to break this down a little bit. Okay, for the audience who don't know us just yet, I can assure you, Mr. Pink and Mr. White are very, very good at things like military, tactics, this type of thing. Okay, so let's just start with, for example, the military right now. We've got Gaza and we've got Israel. Mr. Pink, start us off military-wise. What are we dealing with here?
Oh God, well let's go with the old biblical one. It's David versus Goliath. But what we've got to remember here is David was once part of a mighty bunch of Davids, and unfortunately at the moment all the other Davids are busy, don't want to talk to this David, or fucked. So frankly, he's on his own at the moment, but it's not stopping him having a go, so we've got to give him that.
Okay, so in regards to the military though, obviously it's quite well known that Palestine have the best, at best, massive firecrackers, okay? But let's just break it down in a more educated way. Mr. White, military-wise, yeah, what we're dealing with here, what actually is Palestine firing at Israel?
Right, well, as you said, it's like fireworks, that's what they fire. Fireworks that can kill maybe a few people, and it literally only can harm a few buildings that can be rebuilt within months by a family. Well, we're talking about the most advanced, one of the most advanced army in the world from Israeli side, and just a group of rebels, I could say, on the other side, and basically the people who are seeking freedom. And obviously we're talking about Hamas as well, which is its so-called terrorist organization. Well, they deserve terrorist organization name because of their deeds, but how armed they are. Well, they are pretty well, I would say. From one point of view, only small arms, mortars, and those handmade home rockets, which can, be fired for about a few hundred kilometers. While the obviously Israel, being supported by Americans, have the most advanced army and technique in the world.
Can I just say that, are they actually homemade, these rockets? I honestly don't know. But they look like they're actual rockets, Mr. Pink?
They are actually constructed within Gaza itself. Up until 2013, the actual parts were smuggled in through the Rafah tunnels through Egypt's border, which is still a closed border, or is meant to be a closed border, same as the Israeli borders. But after the coup d'etat there in Egypt, they pretty much cracked down, sealed them borders, because Egypt are taking a stance at the moment. They do not want anything to do with Hamas, which, as they've got other problems, they themselves don't want to really see this Islamic. They don't want to justify Hamas. They're still saying that it has to be under the Palestine Authority. So to justify and recognise Hamas as being in control of Gaza, then Egypt will be making a split between the two Palestinian states. Well, it will be a twin Palestinian state, which they don't really want. So they've cracked down on that. So these are parts, basically, mainly artillery shells and stuff like that, and they are homemade. Best kind of manure kind of chemical accelerants
Right.
made in a kitchen, shoved into a tube, and lobbed over the wall.
So you can
Not
imagine
great, no guidance systems or anything like that.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Internet educated people. That's what Hamas is basically. Yeah, having instructions, build a bomb, make a stew of chemicals to make it explosive, and send it across. That's the only thing they can do. I mean, this is the only. They don't have a proper army. They don't have a proper equipment. If they would have, that would be already destroyed by the Israeli airstrikes or rocket. What you call it. Basically, Israel will find it really quick. Israel use sat-nav, they use rockets, they use planes, and they have the most advanced tanks in the world. So you can imagine, basically, there's nothing stops them to just go there and basically, do whatever they want. And and then we see also casualty from both sides. The Israel, is losing out. Right, sorry, I'm probably going a different way.
No. Well, I was going to say, obviously, the casualty side is something that we can't ignore, and we'll come to that. So it's quite obvious from what you both said there. Now, it is what's being reported, yeah? Palestine, as you say, they are homemade rockets, and it's no secret, Israel are a nuclear power, funded by America. These are not conspiracy theories. We're not here to say, oh, this may be that, maybe that. Obviously, this is well known. Okay,
based on facts.
So we're dealing with, a massive disparity in military resources here. Okay, but one of you has touched on it. I'm not sure who it was now, but we're talking about Hamas here, yeah.
Yes.
Now, Hamas, they control Gaza. Okay, but they don't control the West Bank. Now, I find that very interesting. Now, obviously, the traditional party is Fatah in Palestine. However, Hamas have taken control of Gaza. Now, why would Fatah not really be supporting Hamas? What's people's opinions on this one? Because it seems to me that Hamas are on their own and Gaza is on their own. Mr. Pink?
Unfortunately, in 2007, Fatah and Hamas had a bit of a set to, so they've not really been supporting each other since.
Yes.
Pretty much, Fatah have not got any kind of control now in Gaza.
Yeah.
Hamas do seem to have the control, but not really the political control. It still falls under the auspices of the Palestine Authority, which is what Egypt and the other Arab states want to recognise. So Hamas is pretty much going it alone.
I can understand that, but we're talking about the same people, and they're both subjected by Palestine. By Israel. They're both traditional Israeli enemies. Are you saying it's just a purely political way for Fatah? If Hamas gets destroyed, in a way, that's politically advantaging, game on for Fatah to move back in, isn't it? You reckon it's something just as callous as that? It's just politics at its rawest level. Because we're dealing with the same people here. These are relatives, separated by a very small part, geographically. It's supposed to be the same cause. I just find it very, very interesting that there's been hardly any. I've seen a few reports where they're saying, yes, they're our brothers and, we do support them. But we're talking about, mass killings here. Now, why is Israel not fighting on two fronts here? I just find that quite interesting. Mr. Orange, have you got anything to say about this in regards to the partition between West Bank and Gaza? And why do you think that the West Bank Palestinians are not as vocal or as militarily active?
I think it's probably fair. If you're in Hamas, then you've got all that stigma attached to that, and I think Israel has some justification for going after Hamas with some of the methods, some of the terrorism links, and I think it would just be getting too close. Might not be politically the best venture.
Okay, and there has been also agreements in the past between Fatah and Israel. I'm talking diplomatic agreements. I wonder if they feel that, if they get involved, the greater the greater good, i.e., any chance of a Palestinian state, might potentially never happen. They're probably just on a tightrope and I'm not sure what to do. But I just found that fascinating. I actually only found that out recently. I just assumed that Hamas were now in control of the Palestinian people. But it did take me by surprise that. Right, okay, well, obviously we're not going to get to the bottom of that. That's just sort of hearsay. Do you know what, guys? The kids, Gaza kids. Now, you throw this into the mix, yeah, and to me, this is now takes things to a whole new level. We all know about Gaza being some slip of land, one of the most populated places in the world, nearly 2 million people. I don't know if you guys heard Jon Snow's report, a very famous report that's going around on Facebook, but he came to the conclusion that the average age in Gaza is 17, which is just mind-blowing. So you're talking about a nuclear power, yeah, firing into a small strip of land where the average age is 17. Now, can politics ever be right in that situation? Is there any justification whatsoever, yeah, when you're dealing with an average age of 17 in such a small land for military action? Mr. Pink, what do you reckon?
I'm so glad you came to me, Mr. Brown. Right. Basically, you've got a situation here where your noisy neighbour, for the last 14 years, has been lobbing hand grenades over into your garden, killing your pets, and does not want to recognise that you own the house, you have a right to live there, or, okay, maybe you don't have a right to live there, doesn't want to even talk about it. Once you're dead, once your house wiped off the face of the earth, at the same time, you providing 50% of the electricity, you're providing nearly all the fuel to power their one and only power station, to give the other 50% the power. You're providing a lot of the water, a lot of the food. You're providing nearly all the work, because you're letting them through each day and letting them back out at the end of the night. You're providing just about everything. At the same time, you blocking off your borders to try and stop these people that basically want to kill you. And the other next door neighbour, who's actually related, just wants to stay out of it. So after 14 years, you're going to go over there and knock his head in and say, look, very sorry, I know, very, very sorry, yeah, I know you're all young and everything like that, but sorry, if they're cooking stuff in someone's kitchen, and you say, look, we're going to have to blow that house up because there's a bomb-making thing in there, bomb-making factory, we're going to blow it up at 12 o'clock.
Do not rush with the Egypt as well, obviously. There is a reason why they did not get involved, because, first of all, they had a war with Israel that they lost, I think it was twice, and then it was, now they have political unrest in the country as well. So obviously, not to get involved. There is a reason background of it. Obviously, from humanity point of view, there shouldn't, because you cannot just stand and watch how the kids been killed in the neighbour country.
I agree totally with you. The kids should not be there, as Gaza started off life as a bit of a refugee camp anyway. Why weren't these refugees allowed to move to other Arab states, integrate, and get involved and actually have a life instead of being forced to stay there? Because basically to keep them there gave the other Arab states a bit of political leverage to point the finger and go, oh, what about all the Jews that were expelled from all these Arab states? Where did they go? Oh, Israel took them in. There's no big camp there. There's no big West Bank camp.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. You're right. I mean, we
Syria,
about the people want to
Syria
stay
doesn't want to know. Syria's been tracking down Hamas and killing their agents, and they don't want to know. Jordan's doing its own thing. Syria's having a civil war. Egypt's pretty much looking to the other states around it, at the same time having a bit of a silent civil war and thinking, what the hell's happened to Libya? Let's look at that. You've got Islamic fundamentalists coming in from every single point, every single region, and Iraq, which is not too far away. We've got a massive campaign going on there as well. So it's scary. Yeah. It's scary times. So yeah, maybe Egypt is isolating itself a little bit, but let's be honest, it's not been there 10 years. Gaza's not been there 20 years. It's been there since, late 60s?
But don't you think there is another background towards it? Because just take a look at the Middle East at the moment. It's horrible. I mean, at the moment, it's most destabilized region I ever seen before. I mean, seriously, this is the region that never been at the state that it's now. And
that's a fair point. But obviously tonight's topic is about Gaza, Okay, and I know
It's related.
occasionally we have to go into other countries. The reason I brought up, say, the West Bank, sort of as a priority over someone like Egypt, to me, Egypt is a nation state on its own. The power politics, the real politic of nation states, is quite obvious in some respects. So it's not really much depth to that. If Egypt has got a political reason for not to get involved, that's totally up to them. However, with the West Bank, the reason I brought up the West Bank is because they're the same people and they're the same state. So
they are Palestinians. That's right. Now, what I'm trying to say, my point, I'm not getting into the politics of the other countries. I'm just getting that the region is destabilized, and there must be a reason why Israel used that. This time, specifically this time where everything is around it already isn't stable, to do such horrible operation on this on the land, on the Palestinian land, which is just unheard of.
Well, Israel continually attack Palestine. Yeah, every couple of years there's a little incursion every now and again. This is not out of the blue as such. It's a history of going into Palestine, destroying refugee camps, killing people, coming back out. This is not, 40 years of poking the stick at the tiger, and all of a sudden he's attacked. So let's not kid ourselves there, Mr. Pink.
Usually, though, the threat is the United Arab Brotherhood will all once again rush in and try and destroy Israel. At the moment, this is why I went with Egypt and Syria. Basically, these supportive Arab nations of Palestine really got a lot on their plate, so they're unable to aid them. Even if they wanted to, they're unable to be the big stick with which the Palestinian Authority usually waves and goes, sorry, you can't do that. And that's why the West Bank's being left alone. But at the moment, you've got Hamas there who are going, no, don't want to talk about it, don't want to know, let's just murder all the Israelis and have the place back. And that's their mission statement. When you're dealing with someone who actually says on the side of the van, we're here to kill you all, maybe
that's true.
You just got to go.
Who's this Hamas? Who's this Hamas?
No, Hamas, yeah.
Not only.
But to actually say this is our mission statement.
Oh yeah, they are. I mean, their agenda. That's what.
Okay. The thing is about Hamas. One thing that is very, very important in my eyes, right or wrong, they are democratically elected by these Palestinian people. Now, this is a Palestinian people, the Gaza Strip, used to vote in Fatah every single time. Now, something has fundamentally changed where the people of Gaza now believe that it's time for action. Now, personally, I think it's the sort of the Arafat era, yeah? The peace accords and all that, yeah, went total tits up, right? And I think a lot of Palestinians felt betrayed. And I think it's come to a point, it's very hard, you've got to visualise, right? It's constantly getting bombarded. You can't move unless Israel says, all these types of things. Now, I appreciate, Mr. Pink was saying this is a state that gives you all your electricity and all your food, blah, blah, blah. But in many ways, that's just a colonial power, yeah, sorting out their colonies. That's not necessarily something to be thankful for. Okay, the Palestinian people feel like they've got a right to their own land. Okay, they are being occupied. So the fact that Hamas were elected could theoretically mean they could be elected out. Now, yes, Hamas, the party, we don't recognise Israel and we want them wiped off the face of the earth. But it's not within the realms of impossibility that in a different scenario, i.e. if things were relaxed, blah, 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 yeah, that the Palestinian people could vote back in, let's say, Fatah or someone else. Hamas were voted in. They haven't risen up and started attacking Israel. Their agenda was to put up a fight for the Palestinian people who obviously knew they wouldn't win. Let's be honest about this. We're not talking about dumb people here. They knew they could not beat Israel militarily. If they did, then wow. But I don't believe they did. I think they just thought, enough is enough. Enough talking. We've been oppressed for long enough. We're taking a different route. If this is the consequence of that different route and everybody's happy with that, I personally am not. But if everyone says, well, you voted for it, because that seems to be the argument, on occasion, this is what you get, okay, fair enough if you want to take that position. However, I think they just wanted enough is enough, we're fighting back, we're a proud people, let's have it. Okay? Has it backfired? Yes. Okay? Would Hamas be voted in tomorrow? I don't know. However, there will be elections at some point, and potentially Hamas will be voted out, depending on the situation as it is when elections come. So what do people think about that particular point? Okay, Hamas, yes, recognised as want to wipe out Israel, and they were voted in. Yes. Why does people think that this situation has occurred? Mr. Orange.
To be honest, is it anything new though? I mean, for how long has Israel been, sending rockets into Gaza? I don't think it matters who's in there. That's always going to happen, and there's always going to be. I mean, it's on the back of any kind of terrorist act or any kind of rebellious act. Israel will straight away act, and it will act over the top. It will disproportionately. It's always done that, and it's not a new thing, and I don't think it matters.
I mean, I think people need to know that this is not a new thing. You look at the history of Gaza, and the history of Gaza is Israel going in every couple of years and killing a lot of people and smashing a lot of things and building on the territory. So let's not kid ourselves. This is the first time. Sorry, Mr. Orange. Carry on.
No. I mean, kind of basically finished my point anyway. But yeah, I mean, you see how, I mean, the land grab from Israel, it's basically just an ongoing process. I don't see anything, like I said, I don't see anything new here. But
Just
I
more
think
shocking.
just more shocking, just more Israel. I mean, each time it seems it has, it feels it can get away with a bit more. I mean,
Is this the end? Do you think this is the end game, guys, for Gaza? Not for the West Bank. Do you think that Israel could potentially say, at the West Bank, we're taking Gaza?
It's hard to tell,
From
Mr. White here. It's hard to tell for me, but I don't think so. It's really doubtful. What are they going to do with the people? Where are they going to put them? Egypt not going to take them. Kill them massively. They can. They can't. Theoretically they can, but they won't. If they're already taking the territory, they're already controlling it.
What they could do is, they could beat them so badly that all the ones that are there, obviously they're not going to kill them all, there's nearly 2 million people in Gaza. What they could do is they could destroy the land pretty much totally. Okay, they can prove that they are the dominant force in that area and there's no going back. And all that, you asked where did he put the people. Guess where they put the people? The West Bank.
Right.
Okay,
right.
So that's where they put the people. They take the land, the Gaza Strip. I mean, who's going to pay for this refurbishment?
Can you imagine?
Gaza is in ruins. The Palestinians can't pay for that. Mr. White.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Mr. Pink. Yeah.
Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink, please.
Hello. Right. Well, obviously you can't kill them all because if you do that, you're going to lose massive brownie points for having 6 million of your people. You know, there's only so much leverage you're going to get for that. You can't say, right, please, you determine your own thing. They've tried that, and look what happened. Hamas came. I think going back to the other point about Hamas getting in there. Remember, they did that spectacular deal where they gave one Israeli soldier back for 1,505 Palestinian freedom fighters. But since then, Turkey, who used to actually use their own warships to bring aid to Gaza, has kind of backed off and thinking, well, maybe we don't want to be associated. We've already discussed Egypt, same thing. They've gone, we don't want to be associated with that. Syria, same thing. We don't want to be associated with them.
That's just power politics.
It's power politics, but less and less aid and less funds are coming in. So maybe they thought, well, it's time to make a stand. We've got to heat this back up so that we do get aid. Israel is in a lose-lose situation. You can go in and try and beat these people, and if you beat these people into total submission, as you said, the average age is 17. You're not going to get, oh well, we're beaten. Let's resign ourselves to it. You're not. You're going to get basically more fundamentalist, more people who are,
Yep.
they killed my mum, they bombed my granddad's chippy. You're going to get ISIS. Look what's happening
Yep.
there in Iraq now. That's worse. So
But
It's the
it's going to
ISIS
get
are
worse.
funded. The ISIS are funded. There is a lot of they've been trained, they've been equipped, and but the Gazans are not, and that's why the
what I'm
Gazans
saying.
are just
It's
ruined.
going to get worse. So
Don't tackle fire with fire. I agree. Mr. White, what do you think about that?
the only thing is about that is that, so I was saying about putting them. West Bank is in pretty much the same historical position as Gaza. That means these people in West Bank have been terrorised, controlled, family members killed, but for some reason, yeah, they seem passive. Okay, now there seems to be a distinct difference between the West Bank and Gaza in attacking Israel and whatnot. So it doesn't seem beyond the realms of a possibility that you could move these people to West Bank that's already established as passive to a certain extent. Yeah, so it's kind of a unique situation, talking about a state that's split in two. One's passive and one's aggressive. Yeah, so this idea of sort of creating an ISIS would probably really only continue if Gaza stayed as it was. If Gaza stayed as it was, the people within Gaza would just feed off each other, hatred and anger. Yeah, you move them, you assimilate them correctly into a passive West Bank where Fatah's in control, Hamas is destroyed. Yeah, I think, I'm not saying this is good, I've not read this, I don't know, it's just come to me now, but for me, that seems like a possible route of what Israel's thinking here. Because where can Gaza go from here?
I agree with what you're saying.
As Mr. Pink has just said, yeah, either it stays a hotbed of hatred and anger, yeah, and you create your factions of more violence, or there's something else, and surely the West Bank is probably the solution that they're thinking about. What do you
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Brown. I mean, you just went to a really good point. Let's think about, well, the fact is that's what happened. The Gaza is in ruins. Israeli pressing killing already more than 2,000 people. Lots of them are children. The average population are 17-year-old, as said Mr. Pink. But what is the solution? Can anyone give me a solution? Mr. Pink, Mr. Orange, do you have any idea? What would be the route? What would be the solution of the problem where both sides can win? Is there a win-win situation?
Do you mean in our opinion, or do you mean like what militarily is Israel thinking?
In our opinion, yeah. I don't want you,
Mr. Orange.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, you'd think you'd think external intervention needs to happen. I mean, I would have thought
peacekeepers.
It's got to be more than peacekeeping. It's I mean, Israel. I mean, the way Israel acts, any other country would. I mean, it would have so many trade embargoes, so many kind of boycotts on it. But it doesn't. It gets away with it, and I think it's just. I mean, obviously, the situation is it's just too powerful. It's it's a powerful state compared to quite a few, just like normal Western ones, a few of them. But personally, I think external intervention.
By who?
Yeah. You want?
Well.
No.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to pick out and say, because I'm not a big believer in, I don't completely trust the UN or NATO or whatever. But I'm just putting it out there. It's more of a vague thing, but something has to be organised. I don't think we've exactly got the best infrastructure for doing that, but
someone neutral, you're saying, basically. Without being more.
No one's ever going to be neutral.
Well,
Mr. Pink, what do you reckon? What's the best solution here?
I agree with what you're saying. We can't continue with this two two half of one nation system. It's not working. Obviously, one side at the moment does seem to be a little bit more militant, a little bit more angry, rightly or wrongly. At the end of the day, you did vote those people in. You wanted action. Well, you got it. Okay. But I've got a sneaky suspicion, even if tomorrow we went in with a totally neutral force, Scandinavia went in, rolled upon the beaches through the border, said, right, everyone on, we're going to take you over there, we're going to put you, house you, give you land in the West Bank. Half of them would turn around and go, no, this is the land of my ancestors. Okay, you can't work with that. There's got to be a bit of give and take. Now, fair enough, Israel's doing a good job of kind of in the media saying, well, we're giving and we're taking. At the end of the day, there's got to be some kind of compromise, and I think, unfortunately, at the moment, too many people have died. They have a 6-mile fishing limit, so if you go out to sea, because you can't go to Egypt and you can't go to Israel, if you go out to sea over 6 miles, either the Egyptian Navy, although they are starting to get a bit more lean now, or the Israeli Navy are going to shoot you and blow your ship up, and that's it. So you can't even fish in peace, let alone go away and go somewhere else. You'll find some kind of utopian island in the Mediterranean and just leave one day. You're going to get shot. They tried it with they converted a fishing vessel into a cargo carrier. Some informant somewhere told the authorities, and it was blown up just as it went across the 6-mile limit. You can't win at the moment. If you exterminate them all, you are going to cause absolute hate within all the Arab nations, and you're going to bring down the hammer on you like you've done before.
No.
If you
nationwide, the worldwide hatred.
Well, yeah, but you've got people who are already there and realistically just kind of want an excuse. This is a big excuse. It's not good. Even if you pulled out, they are still going to keep lobbing rockets across, and no matter what kind of jobs, what infrastructure you put in, fuel, electricity, food, bread, water, you put in there, it's going to come back at you. They're just going to use it to throw more crap at you, and they want to wipe you off the face of the earth. Unfortunately, most of the infrastructure is built by Israel there, so they've kind of blown up their own shit anyway, and they know they're going to have to pay for it in the long run. By the way, they pay for it with defensive missiles or attacking plane strikes and killing people and making a bad rap for yourself. There isn't any way. Even the UN don't want to get involved. That's how bad it is. Mr. Brown, please step in, take me from this.
Yeah, solution. From what I can gather, the most die-hard political Palestine activists, yeah, and we're talking like the George Galloways of this world, yeah, I think now it's quite obvious that Israel are going nowhere. Okay, they're going nowhere. So there has to be, the solution is fairly logical. Okay, Palestine are going nowhere. Okay, you might have wiped them off the map. Palestine might actually not be on a map, but the Palestine spirit, the flag, the people, everything. Palestine's there whether you like it or not. Israel's there whether you like it or not. There has to be a two-state solution here, and I think the most die-hard Palestinian activists would agree on that. How that happens, personally, outside intervention has pretty much fucked everything up in the world in modern times, okay? It'll never be neutral. There'll always be conglomerate, multinational corporations attached to any decision that sucks the life out of it, anything that it touches or, controls. So it has to be diplomacy, basically. Diplomacy between Palestine and Israel, okay? Who does that diplomacy? It's not probably, I don't know, man. Ban Ki-moon seems a good, cool guy. I don't know. But for me personally, anybody outside, anybody that's got any vested interest in their own state and their own contracts and their own multinational corporations, blah, 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 should be sent as far away as possible from a situation like this. There has to be a reckoning diplomatically between Palestine and Israel, and at some stage there has to be a two-state solution. End of.
I would say quite clearly, let the America just fuck off, and then
everybody.
Yeah, everybody does.
Everybody.
Just supply the arms and everything. Just stop fucking about with arms.
If countries want to do something helpful arms embargo straight away, both sides. Yeah, straight away. Like
Agree.
we are
Yeah.
not supporting any more.
Fair point.
We know you've got weapons. We know you can carry on, but from this point forward, we are literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking all the arms from you, and that's it. Well, this is one of the good steps there. But I totally agree with you. And first of all, stop lies. When you watch Israeli, reports when the woman stands and they, just try to find the justification of bombing the schools and killing children, saying we warned them, we gave them 14 seconds to run away. It is ridiculous. You want to cry because you can imagine if that would be your children there. It's horrible to. So definitely arms off. Radical thinking to be persecuted from both sides, Israeli and Palestinians. That's the thing. I do sincerely think that Israeli and Palestinians are both at fault, first of all, because they're both just tackling, they're bringing more fire. The problem is Palestinian is the more weaker situation. They don't have, resources as Israeli, and obviously Israeli took their land. Mr. Brown, what do you think about this?
Do you know what I was going to say? The two-state solution is logical. We've mentioned ways of how it can happen and whatnot. Okay, I just think for the interest of the podcast as well, I'm not sure we're going to come to a definitive answer on that one. Okay, but I do believe we discussed that in detail, and I hope we've all said our little piece on that. I was just going to bring up Mr. Orange here because Mr. Orange, we're not nothing to hide here. Mr. Orange is probably our most politically active member, i.e. he's been on the most marches, he's been in the most groups and that. I was just wondering, there's another interesting point. What do you think, Mr. Orange, of the power of protest these days, and what have you seen around the world? I mean, all around the world, there's been councils taken over town halls. There's been thousands and thousands of protesters. There's been this, that, and the other. As somebody that's been involved in activism, yeah, what do you think that the actual power of these protests have achieved up to now, or what they could achieve, or what do you reckon?
What you think with regard to Gaza?
Specifically to Gaza. Since Gaza, there has been mass protests, rallies, whatnot around the world, and I'm just trying to draw on your experience as a protester and whatnot. What you think it's actually achieved, or what it can achieve, or is it something that's no longer got the power it was? Or what's your opinion on the protests, specifically on Gaza?
I think someone who isn't actually involved in anything like that, it's probably better to say how effective it is, because the main reason is, or the main point is basically to get a message heard by more people. It's basically, if you don't have a media voice, or you don't have a presence or enough of a way of getting it out, then protest is the only option, and it's the only way to get noticed is that number of people. But I don't know, around the world, you're obviously a lot of it is kind of with this, this kind of protest, a lot of it is religious protest, and I don't really know. It brings it to the front, but it kind of, I don't know. It's
you say religious, but I think it's predominantly political.
I think it is political, but it's, I don't know what effect it has. Apart from showing that people are angry, and apart from highlighting an issue. I noticed in England we've got protests for Gaza, supporting Palestine, and you've got protests supporting Israel. So and the media from that in this country basically always tries to come across balanced. So it just comes across as, both sides are unhappy. There's probably equal on both sides. They both were there. We could see that, and now they've gone home. And it's I don't know. I think it's kind of it's not really it's not putting that much political pressure. I don't think it's raising the issue, but on this, I don't think. I mean, I may be wrong in other countries. I can't say, and I don't think Israel's going to. Israel's not going to budge over a load of protesters. We know that.
Actually, I was speaking to a friend recently, and I don't know if any of you guys have heard this because I'm really out of touch with stuff with Hollywood at the moment. But apparently, there's been a sort of a signature base where all actors have signed up in protest to the massacre in Gaza. Has anybody heard of this?
Well, it always happens.
No, but this specific protest by the actors of Hollywood is about 100 actors.
Well, they only sign. They give you a signature.
Yeah.
They don't go on a rally, or they don't go outside.
Well, I'll tell you what's quite interesting to me. The guy that told me this, he said that 100. I think he said it was like 100 actors in Hollywood have signed a petition. So that's like a voiceless piece of paper, like what you sign there. However, he said that in response to this, an actor, Voight, John Voight, Angelina Jolie's dad. Who's that? Who's Angelina Jolie's dad?
John Voight.
John Voight. Apparently, John Voight did an open letter, in protest to these 100 actors that have signed this sort of thing to say massacre. And it seems interesting to me that because that was just a signature petition with stop the massacre in Gaza, and the fact that this one actor, John Voight, had actually written an open letter. My friend, who's not necessarily a political person, seemed to sort of started to regurgitate all John Voight's pro-Israeli arguments, and it just struck me that 100 faceless actors, sign a petition to say stop the violence in Gaza. That is not really mentioned. It's sort of brought up as a side thing. One actor comes out with an intelligent and articulate open letter, attacking this 100, and this is the information that my friend absorbed. Now that tells me that if you just take that, say that's a microcosm of protest, let's just say, protest is 100,000 people, shouting a slogan, Then you take one person with an articulate argument in opposition, and they almost have the same power as the sort of the great mass, because that the detail of the conflict is articulated a lot more in one person than in sort of 20,000 people. Now, obviously, I might have just jumped the gun there. I might have just taken something and just sort of blown it out of context. But does everybody understand what I was trying to get at? Yeah.
Basically.
Go on, Mr. Pink.
I think we are moving a little bit away from Gaza, and I think this would be a great topic for a standalone show, protest. The thing with John Voight is every single couple of years, for every time Israel does something, he's at the forefront. Someone described him as the most honorary Jew. He's not Jewish. Well, he's not said he's Jewish, and nowhere says he's Jewish, and his own wiki page doesn't say that he's Jewish, but he's very, very articulate, as you said. He's well informed from an Israeli point of view, and he has always taken an interest in this over the last 40 odd years. So he's well grounded. So it's almost as if 100 actors signed this, and the media went, "Oh, John, what do you think? Let's get a soundbite."
My friend isn't a political person. So John Voight, being a political activist of sorts, he had no idea. He just took the articulate argument at face value, because 100 people signing a petition is not detailed enough to absorb information. And so that's sort of my point was the protests regarding Gaza, although they're in there hundreds of thousands around the world, isn't it more that people should be listening to people who have something to say in depth and detail? The people absorb this better than listening to 20,000 people within a parameter controlled by the police at a designated point, all saying slogans that sort of lost within their own noise. Mr. Orange?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, of course your point's completely valid. No shouting slogans and a load of people signing a piece of paper. I mean, you know how quick actors are anyway, or anyone else who needs to keep up a good image. Or I'm not saying that's necessarily why they did it, but just
say your point again, Mr. Orange. You cut out there. Go on, start again. It's okay. Say your point again, please.
I was going to say it's obvious that fucking hell, I've already. It's obvious that going out and protesting or signing a piece of paper isn't a substantial, form of protest on an individual level, and doesn't really have much in the way of persuading anyone, apart from showing you're there, because no one can listen to your ideas. Sorry, Mr. Pink, go on.
Granted, again, I think we're moving away from Gaza, but
yeah,
in the context of Gaza, the people of any country in the globe can protest as much as they want, one way or another, but until any of the actual governments are going to recognise the situation and do anything about it, and that is the major problem. We've got campaigns here to bring the children of Gaza to the UK Birmingham Hospital, I think Birmingham Royal, to bring them there for specialist treatment. We have another campaign to send one of our hospital ships there to go and treat the people on site if we wouldn't repatriate them. There's another campaign for us to direct intervention, to drop aid, as we're doing in Iraq. As the Americans are doing in Iraq at the moment. They're not even recalling Parliament. That's how much until we're actually shaking them up a bit and actually making them think, oh, we better do something, or we're going to start rioting in the streets. They're not interested, and especially over something they don't want to recognise, and another load of stuff. Until an MP that's in power gets caught doing something that they shouldn't be, no one's going to take a blind bit of notice. Same with Ukraine. We're all going, oh, Russia's very naughty. Russia hasn't been proven to be doing anything.
True, and I'm up for that. Russia is innocent. Sorry.
Okay, guys. Well, I think we have pretty much covered our bases. But what I would like a conclusion, perhaps, from each one of us, on our take on what the most important aspects of this situation is.
30 seconds.
Specifically in Gaza. Not necessarily a pressure of 30 seconds, but if you've got
35.
something to say. Mr. White, you go first. What's your conclusions for the podcast on Gaza, please?
Well, first of all, yeah, it's good to have podcast. Good to have to discuss. We want to know, dear listener, what do you think about it, and just give us some questions, please, that we might answer the next show.
Mr. White?
Gaza,
yeah.
Yes. Gaza is the worst place to be on earth at the moment under the operation that Israel is making it. It's just flattering down the area. The main point is something needs to be done. First of all, the bloodshed must be stopped, and second of all, obviously, the negotiation must start, but with the effect, not just talking, but the actual actions from the worldwide community, Israel and Palestine people.
Okay,
That's
Mr. Ping, what's your conclusion on Gaza after everything we've discussed tonight and your own thoughts and feelings?
I think, surprisingly, we have to come to a little bit of a conclusion that maybe a two-party system would be a good idea. And I'm not saying that Israel should give up a great tract of land so that the people from Gaza can move across to the West Bank. Not that I think they'd all go. But I think, ultimately, Gaza's got to go. Either it's absorbed into Egypt, or the people from there go to the West Bank. But it's just too much of a hotbed of extremism, and you're going to end up with ISIS, stuff like that, getting a toehold. Even your other Arabic Muslim states do not want that. So I'm damn sure Israel doesn't want that. So I guess a two-party, one whole Palestinian nation and one Israeli nation without bits of each other inside would be a better standpoint. As to whether that's going to happen or not, I sincerely doubt it. Sadly, I would be very, very happy to come back and do a part 2, and I would love this to go out. We'll get some comments from the people out there and see what their opinions are. Maybe come back, do a chapter 2 on it. Let's see how it goes. But I'm more than happy to come back, and we'll do it that way.
Mr. Orange, any final conclusions from yourself? Any thoughts on Gaza? Any ways forward? Anything you've been thinking about that we've not spoke about yet? That you've a conclusion of sorts.
Probably not a great deal. I think it would be arrogant to think I have a conclusion of what should happen or how it will play out and what's the best strategy. I think to me it still feels a bit like status quo. It's just it's going along the same lines, and I'm pretty sure we can have a podcast about this in 5 or 10 years, probably with a smaller Gaza, but nevertheless still there.
Okay. Do you think?
That's how I see it going.
Do you think the same as Mr. Pink about Gaza should stay there, or should it be? Is Gaza the problem itself? Should it be? In whatever respect, sort of.
I mean, that depends which side you're on, doesn't it? Whether it should be there. I mean, you could argue that both of them should be there or both of them shouldn't be there. Yeah. I mean, ideally, realistically, you can only see, the solution's going to be either like you've all discussed, a two-party state, or it's going to be, wipeout and Israel basically takes over there. A lot of bloodshed and a lot of people displaced.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for myself personally, what I think should happen in the long term, not necessarily what I want to happen, but what I think should happen. It sounds like a contradiction, but I hope I'll explain myself. We've already discussed it. The two-state solution is the only solution, really. However, one thing that fascinates me, and I think it has been touched on in reports and blogs and whatnot, is the fact that we're talking about the Jews here, and we're talking about a very unique people, okay, with a very unique history, a very bloody history. And when I say bloody, I mean not them doing the oppressing, but being oppressed for thousands of years, highlighted in the Second World War. A bold estimate of 6 million, probably more, actually. 6 million Jews killed, okay? Now, I think there might have been a chance after the Second World War for the Jewish people, not necessarily to create their own nation state, because I think the nation state would have been a solution before the Second World War. But after the Second World War, with 6 million of them dying, I think it was logical that they could quite easily have gone in, as they had done for thousands of years, as a displaced people, however, united in culture and like they've always been, they're still united, they're still the Jews, and they would have been accepted probably in other people's lands. I'm not saying because of the sympathy vote, but obviously because of historically, the modern history, they've been killed in their millions. I think they could have gone just fine. I think the very nature of a nation state, in its essence, is a state that then becomes competition with its neighbours, culturally, economically, and because the very mere creation of this nation state also creates its bed buddy, which you can't get away from, which is nationalism, okay? And something that seemed logical, we need to give them their land, they've suffered enough, let's give them their land, let's give them the ancient scripture, state of Israel. Okay, seems logical, seems rational. However, was it? It's created nationalism. It's created a state that's not wanted. It's created a military people. It's created a people that were oppressed for thousands of years into probably the biggest oppressors in modern history. So that in itself is quite fascinating to me. However, the paradox is, I am saying that the best solution is another two states, Israel and Palestine. And I know that's a paradox, okay? And maybe the first one's just a philosophical question. However, there was a chance, I believe, of the Jews becoming a well-loved, liked, but nationless people throughout the world. Almost an example, of people without a state living peacefully side by side with other people. And I think that chance has been missed. I think we are where we are now. And yes, I do believe because of that chance has been missed, and there's no going back in time. That it's Mr. Pink, please.
Unfortunately, I think there is a division within the Jewish people themselves. There is a collective inside there that always understood they would be a wandering people and never really wanted a static state. And as you said, that will breed nationalism in itself, which is sadly ironic because the worst thing that really ever happened to him was another state's nationalism. There are Jewish communities throughout the world. I think in every country throughout the world there are Jewish peoples there, and they fit in, they socialise, they are quite happy to work with the state they're within. And I think this setting up the state hasn't really panned out and worked out. And unfortunately, I do agree, yes, we should go with a two-party system, because the three-party system we got at the moment ain't working. We got the Palestinian Authority, Israel, and Hamas. Like I've got a superpower. Hamas need to...
You never know.
Back off, and it needs to be just the Palestinian Authority who actually are able to speak for the Palestinians. Because I don't think they should be robbed of a state just for the Israelis. And I think the Jewish people need to get a grip of Israel, which is their country, apparently. And we're seeing this. We're seeing Jewish people saying, no, I'm not going to fight in an oppressive army. And we're still seeing the Orthodox Jews going, no, we will not take part in national service. And we've got the people that say, no, we should be a wandering people. So I think it needs to be reduced to two parties and actually sit down, stop shooting.
Two states,
Two states, sorry, my apologies.
Two states,
Stop killing each other. We got ceasefires, truces, but there's all little caveats. Not that city, not that bedroom window. We can shoot in there. Stop shooting and actually sit down and actually have a constructive, non-childish, non-churlish discussion and get to the bottom of this. Stop breeding generation upon generation, because you saw this going in places like Northern Ireland, where it was, they killed me dad, they killed me granddad, they oppressed me, blah, blah, blah. You've got to stop at some point. You've got to sit down and discuss it, because unless you just want it to go on forever. And unfortunately, I think people like Hamas and people like ISIS and things like that, they love this, and this is what they want.
Let's not forget, there's also elements of the Israeli government that are just as bad. They just got better suits. Okay?
Exactly.
They just got better suits and fancier cars. So let's not get...
Right.
The two states need to be able to speak for their people.
Yeah. Exactly. Otherwise, it's just paradox, isn't it? The Jews who was oppressed by Nazis, and who fights Nazi, thoughts and understanding throughout the world, so worldwide. And then it happens that they create their own nation, that they cherish, so-called cherish, that they start to kill other people for the idea of the Israeli state, and they obviously hold a country in a grip, surrounded by their forces. So how is that not a bit Nazi? I think they just it's like being abused kid in the school. You grown up and became the one who abuses others as well. But that's my point. That's my thinking.
Right, guys. Right, well, I'll tell you what. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Okay, I've really enjoyed the podcast. I hope everyone out there has as well. Thank you all for downloading. Anybody that actually listens to this, I know it's just a trickle at the moment. Please spread the word. Mr. Pink, do you want to just give out our ways to contact us?
I will put them visually so people can either note them down or press on the link below. Get hold of us that way, because to be honest, I forgot my lines.
Well, brilliant. Well, guys, follow Mr. Pink's links, and hopefully you'll leave us comments, you'll leave us questions, and in regards to a Gaza Part 2, I suppose that will be based on anything that you feel we've missed, okay, or anything you feel we've got wrong. And if we will accumulate all these comments and questions, and if we feel that yes, you've got a point, or yes, there's more things to say that we've missed, we will happily do a Gaza 2. Okay? I've been one of your hosts, Mr. Brown. Enjoy mine tonight. Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink, and Mr. White. Hopefully, we'll see you all next week, guys. Remember, Thursday at 7. Goodbye.